That's the power of visioning itself, is that it helps you to tap into that and identify those areas that are going to support you in a greater fulfillment of the higher idea that spirit has for you, that you are then coming into perfect alignment with. That's the beauty of visioning itself, is doing that. It's a deeper spiritual evolution, which is why it's ongoing.
Hello, and welcome to the New Thought Men's podcast, where we're building healthy masculinity in the world. It's great to have you with us. I'm Eamon, and today's guest is Jeff Ryan. Let me just share a little bit about Jeff. He is a master personal and professional development coach, international speaker, and community leader. He helps men get into alignment and reclaim their wholeness, guiding them to live their vision and fulfill their deepest purpose every day. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, it's great to be back with you.
Yeah, great to have you back. I'm so glad that we're able to revisit visioning because it's such an amazing and powerful process. I hate to just skim over this stuff. Like 20 minutes is never enough to kind of deepen into. That's why we have these podcasts. Let's and last year you talked about the visioning process, and we had a great podcast about that, and just really enjoyed how do we deepen into, how do we ask those 5 questions, how do we navigate that space of finding our vision, whether it's for community or whether it's individually. And I tell you, Jeff, we have worked hard in the last year to find our vision for this community. And we'll talk about that later, though. I get so excited about stuff. I'm like, squirrel. So
I'll follow where we go.
But we'll talk about that later. But let's start off with kind of what you talked about today, which was these 4 things, and they're very powerful, and they all are kind of, in a sense, a part of visioning, the visioning process, or enhancements to the visioning process. You talked about the BHAG, which was Jim Collins' work in Good to Great, the big, hairy, audacious goal. Love that and love his work. And then vision boards, and kind of talking about those, and just what is visioning, going through some of the questions and getting clarity on that vision. But then also you're bringing in this really, I think, interesting piece this year, which is, it's based on a book by Amber. Can you say her last name?
Amber Vilhauer. Yeah.
Vilhauer, Infinite Impact, that book. And I thought it was really fascinating that it's like, how do we live this every day?
Right.
And so bringing that piece of it in, because sometimes for me anyhow, you get caught up in that big vision of what's the big vision, the BHAG. The BHAG is the most important. What's this big thing? But then it can be hard to bring it down into those attainable steps, that those practical, how does this impact my daily life? So that's the teaser. Let's go back to the BHAG and start there and work our way down. What do you say?
All right. Sounds like a plan.
All right. So tell us a little bit about BHAG, this big, hairy, audacious goal, this long term, this big vision that we're seeking, maybe for our life, or maybe like as an organization or a company or anything like that.
Yeah. So usually the BHAG, as Jim Collins calls it, the big, hairy, audacious goal, is a really aspirational goal. What it is it's a goal that's kind of like, 10, 20, 25 years out, or it could be like Centers for Spiritual Living's vision of a world that works for everyone in all of creation, right? So there, in the corporate world, the way that Jim teaches it, it's tied with some kind of strategic planning, so that you have this big goal. It's audacious. It's more than you could accomplish, tomorrow or next week. It's something that's out there, but there is that feeling that you could possibly accomplish it. Right. And so you work toward it and you create the strategic plan that gets there and gets going with that. And that is really good because it can help unify a team of working towards something that is long-term or long-lasting, especially like in a company or a community. And done well, it really unifies the community, or the community, company, all the C's. It really unifies, right? And gets people together, kind of marching in the same order, in the same direction, headed toward that same big goal. And if it's inspirational enough, that will have a lot of impact. It can carry through. It has legs, right? It has life, especially when it's revisited and really put in the forefront and people buy into it. The trouble with the BHAG is that a lot of times it's a top-down strategy. So, the CEO or the board of directors or, the core council or leadership council, kind of sets this goal out there and then tells everybody about it. And they try and trickle it down. And so then it's harder to rally the people around it if it's not something so inspirational and really tangible, because people will work and move towards something as long as they feel that they are actually making progress and they can actually possibly achieve it. And while CSL's, with creating a world that works for everyone in all of creation is great, sometimes that can feel really hard, overwhelming, because it's too big, it's too aspirational. You watch the news and it's like, yeah, not in this lifetime. Right. And so then why bother trying? So then there's a lot of defeatism in it as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you want it to be big, but maybe not too hairy.
Right.
not hairy like me. maybe clean shaven.
Well groomed hairy like you. There you go.
How's there we go. Okay, good. Thank you. I'll take it.
Not and maybe, I don't know. So no judgment, just like, but whatever.
Okay. So I like that, the 10 to maybe 25 years out, but you can still see it. It's big enough to be inspiring, to be motivational, to be kind of a congealing effect in, bringing people together to rally around it.
Right. A little bit more linear because of the process, right? It just, the strategic planning, it tends to be linear. You break it down into smaller goals and smaller, key performance indicators and what have you. You can start breaking that down into different ways that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is valuable. I mean, even for your own personal life, it's like, well, where do I, I know a lot of guys, they look at like, what do I want to be doing when I retire? If I do want to retire, what do I want to be doing? What am I working toward? But this also, I think with the BHAG, the important thing here too, is that it's also external. It's more of an external manifestation. It's an external goal. It's something that's kind of outside, it's an external thing.
Yeah, beautiful. I love Jim Collins' work, and Norm, my mentor back when I first started being a minister, taught a class on it, and he really got me more into it. And I had listened to the CDs of the books and quite a few of his books, and it was just. It was like, what are you great at? What's your hedgehog concept? What are some of those things that can help bring that clarity to that BHAG or to that big vision of, where are we already succeeding? What are our strengths? What is the real valuing? I think values you mentioned, how do we align with those, bring all of those pieces in, so that it is that longer term, inspirational, but achievable too. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful stuff. So let's talk a little bit about vision boards, because I love vision boards. We do it's called a Renew Year event. So at the beginning of the year, when we start our new year, we do just a fun little playful thing. Everybody's welcome. So men and women, we've even had some people bring their kids in, and we just, have fun talking about, well, what's your vision for this year? Are there some things that you want to accomplish? What do you want to show up? And as you said, I'm not going to get this right, but princesses, palaces, and there was one other thing.
Parking spots.
Princesses, palaces, and parking spots. So it's maybe those short-term, like really near tangible goals that are, we can achieve within that year time frame, or that we'd like to see. Usually in kind of a material outcome sort of way, like I want to accomplish this, or I want to feel that, or I want to have the new car, or want to be debt free. That's one of my goals this year, is to achieve that. And you were saying, which I take a little bit of offense to, is that it's, these are the maybe the simpler things, the magical thinking, as you called it, which is true. I can see that. But it is that a fun way to get engaged in that vision, in at least that smaller vision of, well, what do I want to achieve this year? And so I think it helps people get into, and has help people get into this philosophy, because it's like very instantaneous. We can see it. Usually for my vision boards, it's, they're like, by the end of the year, like 90% of them are there and have shown up. And it's just a fun thing to do. So yeah, just share a little bit on that.
Yeah, sure, of course. I totally agree. I think vision boards do have their place. They are very valuable in what they are, in that, they really keep our goals focused and in front of us, and they create an image for us to kind of begin to create that mental equivalent, to begin to see ourselves, or begin to really spark that imagination. That's really what it's driving that. And so, it's fantastic for that kind of stuff.
Okay, I'm a little less offended now.
Okay, good. Where it gets tricky, though, is, like you said, the magical thinking is when people think, when they don't understand that it's not just cutting out the picture of the red Ferrari and throwing it up on the wall, and throwing it up on your thing, right? There's a lot of work that goes into the red Ferrari, right? To get that. If you don't have the abundance consciousness for it, it doesn't matter that it's going to sit on your vision board, and you can think positive thoughts all you want. But if you haven't changed your actions and your behaviors, like getting debt free, right? For example, if you haven't changed your behaviors, that red Ferrari, somebody could say, you know what, here, I don't want this anymore. Here you go. Right. But the likelihood of that is not there. So, this is like where I felt like the secret fell short, is they didn't really tell everything, right? They just said, it's magical thinking. If you just think about it hard enough, and you just outline it and just describe it hard enough, and you just get this specific and do this, then it'll happen. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work.
It's really,
there's so much more behind it.
Yeah. It's really that, and I think the secret did that well, is it's the introduction.
It is the introduction.
It's nothing more. It's the introduction to this philosophy, and it's really the iceberg concept. So,
right.
what they were describing was the 10% that's sticking out of the ocean, not the 90% underneath. And, how do we bring it into action? Like, I mean, Ernest Holmes said this, like, years and years ago. Do your affirmative prayer work, but move your feet. Like, exactly. Don't just be like, hey, yeah, I'd like to be debt free, but then not doing extra things to work towards building extra money so that you can pay that debt off. Right. Or, spending extra hours at work overtime, or, having a side job, or, what all the things that are really the practical steps to getting us there. Right. And, it's true. Some pretty amazing, things have shown up for me, some pretty magical manifestations. Yeah. But at the same time, I do agree. I think we don't want to count on that. We really want to practically move forward in all of that, on all of those areas, not only focusing on it every day, seeing it, what does it feel like? What's the experience of it? But also, what steps can I take towards that? Right. Let's go look. Maybe Tom Selleck has an extra red Ferrari hanging around from I just dated myself, Magnum PI.
It is the newer version too. So yeah.
Oh, the new version. Okay, good.
Yeah, I still had the red Ferrari, but yeah, but there was a key point there, Eamon, that you said is like, you also mentioned feeling, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just about this, but it's also generating the feeling, because it's not just what we see, but it's how we feel. And the universe really responds to what it is that we feel. What's the feeling tone? What is the intention? Words are important. Yes. And, I was sharing before somewhere else that I can say love, 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 love. I can pray using only the word love, or using the only word blah, 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 right? I can do either one. The universe is responding to my intention, my feeling, not necessarily the actual word that I'm using, right? Mm-hmm. So that cancel, 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 when you say something, kind of just drives me crazy, crazy, crazy. Okay. But, it's not like it's going to, if the universe manifested every single thought you had, oh my God.
Yeah. We'd be in trouble.
We'd be in so much trouble, right? It's the propensity of our thoughts. It's the belief that we have. It's the feeling that we have. And that's what the universe is really responding to. And so with the vision board, what I prefer is a visioning board rather than a vision board. So a visioning board.
Talk more about that.
Yeah,
visioning board.
My visioning board has, like what you talked about today or this year, I want to be debt free. But so what it also has on there is it has pictures of freedom. It would have it would have words that represent what that freedom means to me, or what I would be doing with that freedom, or how I would be experiencing that freedom, so that I'm not limiting it to a 1989 red Ferrari, and if it's not that, then I've failed. Or if it's not that, the universe isn't working in my favor, because what I've done then is I've limited the universe by being so specific that if it doesn't show up exactly like this, I'm disappointed. When it could be something so much better. Mm-hmm. Right? There's a story of a woman who was manifesting the red sports car. Well, she got a red sports car. It didn't run, but she got it. Well, what are you going to do with it now? You manifested the red sports car. What are you going to do with it? You can't drive it. What's the point of having it? It's just going to sit in the driveway, or worse, on the front lawn. So.
Yeah, I think it's so important that we think that it's this one way. If I can just think my way into it, or even just feel my way into it. Mm-hmm. But it's really the physical, mental, emotional alignment under that really helps and supports and guides you and brings you into action with it to be able to manifest, to be able to draw to you whatever it is that you want, whether it's love or fulfillment, happiness, purpose, meaning, joy, peace, all of the stuff that we want, and also the prince or princesses, palaces, and parking spots. But when we have that alignment, I think is necessary, and not enough, I think, voice is given to how do we align all of those. So like my one body's over here, my other body's over here, the third body is here, and they're all trying to get on the same page when they're in different places. And
It's
so
really what you're most committed to. What you're most committed to is what you'll have. Yeah. Your deepest held belief, and which is oftentimes an unconscious belief, which is why we try to make them conscious, is what then manifests. That's what spirit's responding to. That's what the universe is responding to. What's your deepest belief about yourself? Oftentimes it's not pretty, right? And what are you most committed to? I mean, you can say you want $1 million or you want that red Ferrari all you want to, but if you are deeply committed to living in poverty, or you are deeply committed to not being enough, or believing that you're not enough, you're never going to have it. So a vision board is not going to help you with getting it, right? It's the underlying, because like Ernest Holmes said, to us, like, you have what you're most committed to. Look at your life right now. What are you experiencing in your life right now? That is a demonstration of your deepest held belief and what you're most committed to. So if you want to change that, you have to change the belief. You have to change what it is that you're most committed to.
And that's where the inner work, lies. That's where, exploring our inner world through so many different means, whether it's journaling or meditation, sitting with it, sitting with the question. For me, I sat for, and I think I talked this last year, I sat for almost a year with the vision of like, okay, if I'm going to go back to ministerial school, being a neurodiverse dyslexic person who hated school, like, this better be a good vision, Spirit. You had better get clear on this. And, it showed up, and it's like, hey, Eamon, you're doing this to do the things that you have enjoyed for the last 30 years, men's work and the new thought, spiritual philosophy, like bringing those two things together. That's your purpose. That's your me. I'm like, oh, of course it is. Duh. And, those were the things that I was committed to that overrode that long-standing old belief that I'm not good at school, that I had to address, that learning is hard, that, I don't do it right, even those core beliefs of I'm not enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. And it really got me to that place of finding the gifts that I have to bring. Sure, I can't pull up a quote out of my mind like other people can, or other ministers can. I can't do stuff like that. In fact, I get stuff wrong all the time, and need to then go back. And I always give the disclaimer of don't believe facts and statistics. If I say, oh, that happened in 1980, then I'm probably wrong, or I could be wrong. Look it up for yourself. But ultimately, it came down to my belief in and my desire to be of service and to do the things that I love overrode that old patterning and old belief systems. And I had to go into that inner part of myself and really do that deep healing work through that process of going back to ministerial school, going back to school, and going through that gauntlet. But ultimately, it was necessary for me to do that, to be able to show up and create this and be a part of this. So ultimately, it was a part of the success. And I think most people will find that it is a part of their success when they go deeper into those inner parts and those unconscious parts or semi-conscious parts that are like, oh yeah, I did grow up not believing that I deserve success, happiness, love, whatever it is. And I need to shift that in order to see that relationship manifest, in order to see that, a red Ferrari manifest, in order to see those things. And even with what I'm dealing with now of working towards getting debt free, I had old beliefs. I mean, dyslexic. Hello. I did everything I could to avoid having to look at financial stuff for years. And I feel very blessed because I was taken care of, and I had a great training, and started my own business, and it was very successful, but I just didn't learn how to save money. I thought at the end of the month or end of the year, okay, I can pay everything. Life must be good. Everything's fine, right? It's a little bit of magical thinking in there. When in fact, I could have been like, yeah, I need to, pay down that debt. I need to get some money into an investment account. I need to, have emergency savings funds. And I tell you what, now having some of those things, having all those things, not quite debt free yet, but it is incredible how much tension was in my body and in my life that I did not realize that not paying attention to the finances was creating.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, and what I've loved about what you've just shared, Eamon, is that there was a larger vision calling you.
I hope you're enjoying this podcast. To connect with our community of like-minded men and access our full library, including summit talks, meditations, podcasts, weekly online men's groups, and so much more. Become a member today at newthoughtmens.community/membership. And now back to the podcast.
Right. And this is where we kind of get in. This is where we get into the visioning piece, the Michael Beckwith visioning piece, is that there was a larger visioning calling you. There was a vision for your life that you tapped into of doing men's work and doing the with new thought. And so here's your hedgehog as well, right? But here's this thing that makes you unique is that doing the men's work, doing new, and being involved in new thought, bringing those together, that vision was pulling you forward. And so that's the same vision that started teaching you how to listen to your internal guidance system. That's started teaching you how to tap into that inner knowing and saying yes. And so even as you're dealing with, getting debt free right now, there's still that larger vision that you have of experiencing the freedom that is available to you. And you're now coming into alignment with that. Okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to behave? What shifts do I need to make? What do I need to embrace? What do I need to welcome? What do I need to embody? What do I need to let go of? What old habits? What old beliefs? What old BS, as we say, belief systems? What old belief systems do I have to let go of, right? Yeah. To then become into alignment with this. And that's the power of visioning itself, is that it helps you to tap into that and identify those areas that are going to support you in a greater fulfillment of the higher idea that spirit has for you, that you are then coming into perfect alignment with. That's the beauty of this, of visioning itself, is doing that. It's a deeper spiritual evolution, which is why it's ongoing. And it is the inner work. And people want to use visioning to okay, we vision, so now let's start planning. Let's start getting that strategic thinking idea. And, visioning doesn't really work well for that. And so people get frustrated. Well, why do we have to vision? Why do we have to think of it this? Well, why not? Yeah. I already know what I need to do. I already know what I want to do. Why do I have to listen to what spirit wants? It's because,
yeah. Why would you want that?
Spirit has a higher idea for you than your limited thinking. But, people will have a tendency, or they go the other way. And it's like, now they're just waiting for sweet spirit to drop the entire plan down in their lap and just pave the way and make it clear. And they don't have to do anything. So again, it comes back to that We need to be taking action on it. And that's what I love, that you listen to yourself, you listen to that higher vision, you tapped in and you said, I have to go back to ministerial school. So how am I going to make that happen? What am I going to do to make that happen? While living in alignment, what do I need to make that happen? You had another, you had spirit again, or universe again, giving you the nudge. It's time to get debt free. All right. So what are we going to do to make that happen? You're listening to that intuitive sense, that inner guidance, that inner wisdom, that is really what's so beautiful about visioning, is that it really hones that in and it really exercises that muscle.
Yeah.
The thing that vision boards do and visualization does that I really appreciate there is it helps build the faith.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so I did this, I got that result. I did this, I got that result. I did this. So it really builds the faith that's then required to really go deep, to like listen to that inner wisdom and then trust it. Because now you're trusting that there is a law, that the universe is on your side, working for you, conspiring for your highest good, and that you can learn to trust that. Now we can go into visioning. And so now you knew to trust, all right, this is what I'm being called to do.
Yeah.
This is what it's, now I'm being called to get debt free. All right, I'm going to say yes to that because I can trust it, because I know that the universe has my back.
Yeah.
The universe is only going to say yes. It's going to have my back. I can relax into this now. And so that's so beautiful about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a budget. I did a budget, like, for the first time in my life. Like, there were all of these things that I had such resistance to, and when I got clear on that, what that was, and did some powerful healing work around it, quite frankly, and that really helped a lot to clear some of that old stuff out, so that I was willing. But stuff like that started to show up, and I was actually excited about it. But I was really just pouring as much in as I could find. I was watching all kinds of videos on YouTube, that were about, getting debt free, and especially Dave Ramsey's stuff, which I think is just powerful work in really empowering people in their financial health and well-being. And, there was just so much that was clicking. And for me, that's the place when we really are, when we are aligned to that spiritual connection, when we are aligned to that higher purpose, when we are aligned to soul, that those things are made a lot easier. Those things do show up in a better way. And all of a sudden, some money started showing up, and his method is to pay the lowest credit card off first. And so, like, within the first 2 months, I had 3 credit cards that I had for a long time, which was just ridiculous. Here I am paying, all this interest on this. And so I needed to find also that place of compassion. Like, I wasn't ready until I was ready. And then seeing how much that interest was and going, holy crap, why am I paying that every month? Why didn't I pay this off years ago? But it really, those simple steps, those baby steps, as he calls it, to do the easiest first thing that you can do, and then take the next step and take the next step. And it seems like there's a reflection there also in this, is like, this is about, it's not about instant gratification.
No.
That's how I got into debt. This is about discipline. This is about the workout. This is about exercising every day, and not going through the drive-through because I'm hungry, I'm away from home, it's convenient, et cetera, and having that discipline to go, no, I have a bar in the truck that I'm going to eat. And when I get home, I'll be able to have some food. If I'm hungry right now, I've got food in the truck. So it's about those disciplines. And I think, like visioning, It is a discipline. It's about doing it over and over again. I didn't sit and go, okay, Spirit, what am I to do? No answer? Okay, I'm going to give up. It was a year of asking that question. And finally, the simplest answer came. Like, put men's work and the New Thought philosophy together. Like, oh, that's such a simple answer. I've been spending a year doing this for that simple answer. What? So it is
you got the simple answer, but it was the year of doing it, year of putting in the reps, year of putting in the work that finally prepared you enough to be able to hear, the universe of Spirit go, Eamon, men's work, New Thought, put it together, dude.
Yeah.
But you had to go through that year of rep.
You go through it.
Have the ability to be able to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. So since we're in the visioning process, let me just share for those people who may not know, this is Michael Beckwith's visioning process. Michael Beckwith is a New Thought minister who is an incredible guy. Look him up. He's all over the place, all over the internet. But here are what those questions are when we do visioning. We sit and we get in a neutral space, and we're really in that receptive space, almost a meditative space. And feel free to add anything in here that you want. So the question number one is, what is Spirit's highest vision for blank? My life, this situation, my marriage, my career, this business, whatever. The second question is, what am I here to do? I don't think what is my role in that situation? Is that correct? What is my role?
That I would I would not put that in visioning. That would be more of a spiritual discernment, because you're already starting to narrow Spirit in that way.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Okay, we'll keep going though. I think it's just the phrasing that threw me off there. What must I release in order for this highest outcome to manifest? So what must I release? Question number 4, what spiritual quality must I embrace? What quality must I embrace for the highest outcome of this situation to manifest? And number 5, what else? If there's anything else that needs to be shared at this time. So those are kind of the 5 basic questions.
I would say there's 5. I mean, there's Michael has his set of 5. Everybody kind of has their set of 5. What I would say is that there is the overarching is, what's the highest idea? Release, embrace, and then is there anything else to be known at this time?
Yeah.
And the way I always phrase that last question, is there anything else to be known at this time? Or is there anything else the universe or Spirit would have me know at this time, is a way that I like to phrase it. Because sometimes if you phrase it, is there anything else to be known at this time, to a group, then what the way people unfamiliar with visioning interpret that is that it's now a time to offer feedback, or a time to offer their own thoughts or their own ideas. And that's not the case. That's not what visioning is about. So for me, the way I teach visioning, it is what is highest idea? What must be released? Embrace, embody, become, and then is there anything else? So perfect. Between those. So there's some variations as to how you might go about approaching it. The reason why I gave you a little pushback about the role is because that starts to limit in terms of what is my role in this. That is more of a discernment question.
Yeah.
So it's a question of discernment, because you're asking for a very specific thing. With the questions with visioning, is they're really open-ended. What must I release, embrace, embody, become? Anything else, right? But when you start asking, what's my role? Now you're asking for a very specific information.
Yeah, that was a weird. I just grabbed this off the internet because I couldn't find mine in my files. So that one kind of threw me a little bit too. Yeah.
So that's more of a discernment question. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And so, so for those who are new to visioning, in case we haven't muddied the water enough for you,
Go back and watch my thing from last year. You'll know.
That's right. Watch the podcast from last year and you all will become clear. Yeah.
You could also become a member and then watch my talk from last year too. So there you
go. There you go. Absolutely. And of course, then you get to hang out with a bunch of amazing people, a bunch of amazing guys. There's so much more to membership than just a video membership. You can be a part of a men's group online that we have. So lots of great stuff. Yeah. But I digress. So that's the visioning piece of it. I want to make sure we have plenty of time talk about this this next piece that you are so excited about and you've been working on. What's it called? The Foundational 4 framework.
Yes.
And Amber in her book Infinite Impact. Why don't you throw that up there, Amber? Yeah, beautiful.
Amber Vilhauer, Infinite Impact. Yeah,
beautiful. So tell us more about what that wisdom is about that she's imparting and how it relates to, visioning and embodying that vision.
Right. So Amber works in the books and business space. That's primarily where she is. And she was working with entrepreneurs. So that's how she first kind of downloaded or got this download for this framework. But what it is it's working with a framework that might be somewhat familiar, but in a different terminology in the business world. So, or not terminology, same terminology, different meanings. Avatar, working with your avatar, your vision, your why, and your values. So those are the 4 pillars of the foundational 4 framework. But what she asserts in the book, whether you're an entrepreneur or, just going through life, is getting really clear as to who it is that you're here to serve. And it's the one person you're here to serve. It's not an audience that you're here to serve, because in a business world, like in a marketing world, right? Marketing to a 35-year-old man who is wanting to, start his own business, perhaps, or who's working in the gig economy, marketing to him is very different than marketing to somebody who's 67 and is getting ready to retire with his wife and go travel the world, right? Yeah. 2 totally different audiences, and so when you have this audience range or this range of stuff like, 35 to 67, blah, 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 it's like, you're just like shooting, it's like a shotgun at a wall, basically, right? You're just trying to see what lands. But when you get really specific with who your avatar is, who that one person is that you're here to serve, then you can get really super specific and you can talk specifics. And then what happens is then more people are drawn in because you're speaking so specifically. It feels so much more intimate. It feels like you're talking directly to them, that cuts through all the noise. And so it really allows your authentic voice to come out with your authentic messaging. So that's kind of general about avatar, right? So you really want to get it down to one person that you're really focused on. Okay. Then how can you serve this person? What skills, what abilities, what things do you have that you can bring to? So this is kind of where that other question, like what you were saying, the roles or what have you. What skills or abilities do you already have? What are you really passionate about that you can bring to them? This really helps how you're going to serve them in specific ways. Then there's the deeper work that really asks you. And so this is where visioning and this work really overlap, is that you're tapping within, because none of this is like, let me think of who I want to work with. It's all a deep questioning, tapping into that intuition, allowing the person to show up in front of you rather than you going and trying to pick somebody, allowing the answers to come from within. Our deepest unmet need, and we've talked about, some of our deeper beliefs already, but it's really our deepest unmet need that is our basic motivator. It's our basic why. It's why we do what we do. It's why we serve who we serve. It's why we were called to the work that we're called to. It is that great attractor. It's rooted in that deepest unmet need. I'm just going to guess here, Eamon, is that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess that your passion to work with men and new thought
Mm.
is rooted in a deep need for connection, is rooted in a deep need for especially a healthy masculine influence that may or may not have been there, but that there's this deep calling, this deep need for this to be present, that is calling you forward, that is inviting you into the space to really serve men in the new thought space. Now, I don't know anything about your history, and I'm just like, but my sense though is that there is a deep need for connection and a deep need for healthy masculinity within you, perhaps within your past.
Yeah.
So that calls you to this. And so then by bringing this by becoming the vehicle through which healthy masculinity is being expressed into the world, right? You're able to find specific ways that you've kind of identified already. That then becomes your real vision for the work, that you can then have impact on men daily. Every impact when you are interacting with anybody, whether it's me, Asa, or anybody in your community, right? That you're showing up and you're offering an example of healthy masculinity, and you're offering a pathway to healthy masculinity. So for me, the way this looks is my deepest unmet need was wholeness, right? The need to be whole. I was having to pretend to be something I wasn't, or falling into different roles as a child, or, having to hide parts of myself so that I would be palatable to people or palatable to my father specifically, right? I was having to hide bits and pieces of myself. And so I felt broken. I did not feel whole, right? I felt rejected, right? And so what is it that I'm being called to do? What is my deepest unmet need is that experience of wholeness. And so then what does that look like for me as a vision, as my daily vision? That looks like I offer acceptance. I offer inclusion. I offer belonging. This is what I'm doing daily, constantly. I'm doing that with you right now. This is operating in the background. What am I bringing to Eamon today? I'm bringing him acceptance. I'm bringing him inclusion. I'm bringing him belonging. And by doing that, he is going to experience a greater sense of wholeness within himself. And when he does that, I experience a greater sense of wholeness within myself, because I'm giving to you exactly what I need to receive. And so it is this infinite loop. It's this infinite eternal loop of giving and receiving. So I'm never deplenished.
Okay.
And that's all in alignment with values.
Yeah. I'll speak to what you said. Yeah, I think my history, just to share a little bit about me, I grew up with 3 sisters, and a very, dominant mom. And my dad was very much in the background. He was they were very much, of a different generation, and he was the provider and went to work every day and owned his own business and, all that stuff. But I think it was being around, my sisters and my mom all the time and having that influence. I never felt like I had this. I never felt like I had brothers. I never felt like I had, that kind of thing. And then being raised, being brought up Catholic, a religion that did not work for me at all. I needed more of a seeking. I needed more something that was more open. And so in finding new thought and in finding men's work, I found both of those things that really fulfilled me and fulfilled that need. And so to be able to give that to other men, a sense of who they are as a man, and especially a sense of who they are as a spiritual man. Yeah, I would say you're right on. You're good. You're good, Jeffrey. Nicely done.
But that's the power of this work, right? Because then
see that.
So if your vision is building healthy masculinity in the world,
yeah,
that is your driving factor. So that means with every man you come into, with every person, actually, with every person you come into contact with, this is operating in your background. This is your vision of building healthy masculinity in the world, so that when you are operating, or when you are interacting with anyone, one, you're modeling healthy masculinity, but two, you're offering them what a compassionate, loving, generous, kind, respectful, you're offering all of those things. And usually we try to, and this is where values comes in, but usually we try to limit it to 3. So like that way it's just easier. So for me, it's acceptance, inclusion, belonging, right? So whatever your 3 are, but that's what you're offering. That's what's operating in the background constantly. And then what they're experiencing is they're experiencing healthy masculinity. And then what you're also experiencing is healthy masculinity, because you're offering these, then that's what you're also getting back. Whether it's with men or with women or whomever, right? Yeah. You're offering this and then you're receiving it back in return. So it's an infinite giving. So you don't get depleted in the work. Because too often ministers or spiritual people, people who care about others, there's compassion fatigue because we empathize too much and we give and we give and we give and we give. And we don't ever, then we start giving and then we get resentful. It's easy to get resentful, in this kind of work. Whereas there's no resentment because it's this constant flow back and forth, which is so beautiful, which is why this fourth way of looking at vision of what are those micro actions that I can take that will impact this person. Like, all right, if I'm going to show up, so how am I going to show up? How am I going to offer acceptance? How am I going to offer inclusion? How am I going to offer belonging in this moment? And I can take those little micro actions and then I can see it. I know through that interaction that I've had an impact. And so when I know that I've had that impact, I experience living my vision. My vision is fulfilled. And then all the other parts of the vision that we've been talking about, from all the way to the BHAG, to the vision board, to, Michael Beckwith's visioning, if you have this as the foundation, it all springs like a tree, right? So then I can go out and I can impact. I can create a world that works for everyone. You can create a world where, healthy masculinity is the norm because you're doing it day by day, and you're not like sitting there like with the BHAG of like, well, when am I ever going to have an impact? When am I ever going to see that this is working, right? It works every interaction, multiple times a day. And then your confidence just like goes through the roof as a result, because you're living your vision. You're living in alignment.
Yeah, on a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
And even with women, we all have a masculine and feminine side, right? Exactly. And so many, I think, of us are either, wounded by our fathers or our mothers, and so don't have that vision of what is healthy masculinity or what does healthy femininity look like. How do I embrace that? How do I embody that? And even though we can have great success on one, we may struggle with the other. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Jeff. That's beautiful. And I get that synergy that then happens when you get to share that, when, on my best days, when I'm able to model that healthy masculinity and it gets received and goes in and, oh, that's what healthy masculinity looks like, or that's one way that healthy masculinity can look like. And then getting that back, getting that experience back. We don't often talk about the energetic exchange, but I think there is a huge piece of that, like 90% of our interchanges are nonverbal. So it's probably like 75% of that is probably energetic. And so to really receive that back, I can see how it fills the cup rather than coming to people with an empty cup. Oh, will you fill my cup? Instead, that's no way to be in service. We have to come with a full glass to be able to say, can I offer you some water? Can I offer you some of what I have to offer? And to be able to have that reciprocal experience does feed that, because we do get burnout and many people get it in their livelihood or their career. But I think especially ministers, because we are we really do want to make an impact. We really do want to support people. That's awesome. I love it, man. Thank you.
Infinite impact. So I love it.
Infinite impact. Well, yeah,
Story.
for sure.
So.
She's on to something there.
It's definitely.
And I know you're a certified coach with her, so that's that's a piece of what you do. Obviously, you just did it with me, so that's a piece of what you do. Powerful, bro. Powerful.
No charge for that particular session. There you
go. Okay. We'll balance it out at some point. Yeah. So, before we go, I'd really love to share. We've talked about it, just building healthy masculinity in the world. That is our vision for the New Thought Men's community. Yeah. So it did, if we could just talk about that for a minute, it did take like over a year. Like we'd been doing this before we did our recording last year about visioning. So I've been working on that one for a while. We had kind of a placeholder, but this one really was powerful and really hit me. And again, that thing of patience, which is a lesson that I have to learn clearly because it shows up a lot. Patience with the process, and it took the time, but then the words just showed up: healthy masculinity in the world. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. Like it touched my heart. It hit my mind. In my body, I could feel it. Like, yes, healthy masculinity in the world, because it's, that is what we're here to do as the New Thought Men's community. Mm-hmm. And of course, then I take it to my mentor, Dennis Merritt Jones, whom I love. Yeah. And he's like, nah, it's not enough. You got to add something to it. I'm like, what? Dude, it took forever to get here. What do you mean add something to it? And I sat with it and I'm like, all the usual kind of cliche sort of, empowering and, embodying and embracing and, none of that stuff was working. I'm like, nah, this isn't going to work. And then building came in and I was like, oh, wow. It definitely tapped into my psyche, being a contractor for many, many years, over 30 years of my life. So definitely tapped into my yes on that. And he's like, yeah, I think that's great. Building healthy masculinity in the world. It not only speaks to building it in the world, but building it as individuals with us as men or as women, building that healthy masculinity within ourselves. And that building is a process. You start with a plan, you dig the foundation, you pour the concrete, you frame the house and finish the house. And like that, we have many tools and skills that we need to learn. I think that many of us didn't get. Yeah. And how we learn those is we practice them in men's groups every week. I was in a men's group for 25 years. I've been in a men's group since I was like 20, in my early 20s. Nice. And it's about practicing listening skills, practicing non-judgmental skills, practicing waiting my turn to speak, practicing receiving that help and support, which can be uncomfortable, and giving that support and help. And then bringing all those great concepts that we have in New Thought of, holding that higher vision and affirmative prayer and all of those things, that those on top of tools, on top of men's work, that can really help next level all of this stuff on the skills level, and it improves all of our relationships, our intimate relationships, our business relationships, our friendships. When we start to practice these, and we have them as agreements, but when we start to practice these agreements and even learning stuff like, we can have disagreements. We can feel very differently about the same thing, and that's okay. Or we can even get into a fight and, be upset with each other and take a moment And the piece that I didn't get when I was growing up around men and relationships is just, no, then I'd turn around and walk out. Well, that's either that, you know, men will do one of two things, usually the fight, flight.
Mhm.
So they'll poof up, you know, or they'll run for the door. And, you know, that was strong in me. I was ready to run for the door many times. They're like, no, wait. You know, you're in a sacred space. We're going to hold you. We're going to support you both. And let's talk through this, you know, and then we can learn skills like reflective listening, like, here's what I heard. Oh, that wasn't what I said, you know, and then we actually start to have healthy communication that happens. And wow, that's just becomes a game changer in our lives. Once we learn that, wait a minute, I don't have to run away. I don't have to ghost somebody as what's going on in our society right now, just because we have a disagreement, just because we have a challenge, just because we don't see in the same way. You know, that skill would come in handy right now, politically and socially. You know, so it's these kinds of skills that we learn in the process of simply doing men's work, and simply by being heard, by telling our story, by sharing our experience, and then other men are enriched, or other people, if you're in a women's group, other women can learn from our challenges, can learn from our struggles, can learn, oh, that's how you handled that, or that's how you thought about that, or that's how that helped you, you know. And so we're not like, hey, here's what you need to do, pal. You know, none of that. It's like, oh, we get it. We empower that inner voice. We empower that inner intelligence. We override that concept that, oh, the authority figure knows, the teacher knows, the boss knows, the president knows, the whatever, you know, my mom knows, my dad knows. You know, no, I know. Who
Exactly.
else is going to know for us? But I know, and learning to empower that and support that. And the person that shows up, you know, when we start to embody these is incredibly different, or has been for me and tons of men that I've seen do men's work. So sorry, I had got off on that little caveat, but really, you know, it's like when that vision can really describe that process, that how do we build healthy masculinity, you know, we simply show up. We simply do the practice and do the exercise. We do the hard work sometimes in a safe place. And oftentimes that isn't with our partner. That is not with our intimate partner, because it can be hazardous. That can be dangerous. You can even lose the relationship. Sometimes we practice in a safe place, and then we are able to integrate these skills. And then our partner goes, what have you been doing? What did you do differently? Why are you showing up? What is all this amazing stuff that you're doing? I'm kind of curious about you now. What's going on in there? And then we have that deeper levels of intimacy. We have deeper levels of connection. We're more embodied. We're more confident. We're more joyful. We're more loving. We're more kind. We're less defensive. The defensive system goes, oh, okay, we can go down. Oh, he actually has skills. I don't need to either fight or run away. We have more skills than that. We can get out of this reptilian brain back here and bring it up into the prefrontal cortex, or even the pineal gland, with that spiritual enlightenment that we add to that in our community.
I'm so glad that Dennis Merritt Jones said, no, it's not enough.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Thank you for bringing us back.
No, I'm glad you said that you needed to add something, and that what came to you was building. Because for you just to say healthy masculinity in the world is like, okay, say more. You know, I can see why it would be there. It's like it needs to say more. And building healthy masculinity and then fleshing it out the way you just did so beautifully, really describing what that is, what that means, is really there and really potent. Whereas just saying healthy masculinity in the world, while good, doesn't even scratch the surface of what you just did and what you just shared. That by adding that word building and by making it active, making it participatory, acknowledging that healthy masculinity is already out there. We're not creating it from scratch, right? Yeah. But we are providing tools to do that, right? Whereas, if it just is healthy masculinity in the world, well, you can argue, well, there isn't healthy masculinity in the world, so now we have to, we envision healthy masculinity in the world. Like CSLs, right? Is we envision a world that works for everyone in all of creation. Well, you and I both know that that is not the case currently, right? That is, you just look on TV. That's not the case, right? And so leaving it as we envision, or envision or healthy masculinity in the world, it kind of almost sounds like it doesn't exist. And so we need to create it to exist, where the work that you've been doing, we already know that it exists.
Yeah.
It exists within this community here. It exists in all the men's work you've done prior to this, right? It's there. It exists. It's not just the manosphere screaming out there. There is this healthy masculinity that exists. And so then how do we together as a community, and how do you personally begin building it to be even stronger, to be even greater, to get it even more well known, to get it even more well practiced, so that it then does eventually become the way that we operate as men, right? But there's a building of that. It's a building of that. So, yeah. It's not creating, or there's a building. That means there's actually work. That's what I love about this. There's work that's involved. You got to swing the hammer. You got to screw the screwdriver. You got to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And vital right now. And I think in the end, I was really happy that Dennis pushed me to find that extra piece. Even though I was not thrilled about it when he said, "Nah, that's not it. Keep going." But he, in his beautiful wisdom, was like, yeah, there's something extra. There's something more there that needs to be had. And when I came back to him with that, he's like, yeah, that's it. That's it. Beautiful. Oh,
you're doing great work, Eamon.
We could keep talking about this. This is such a great conversation. And, I know we have limited time. So I'm going to hit you with the final question here, that I try and ask, the other speakers this year. This year's the question is, what does divine masculinity look like in the 21st century?
Yeah. And so it comes back to what I've been talking about. It's getting into alignment with the vision, getting alignment with your purpose, really getting into that alignment, and then giving it and receiving it. And so that's the way I see, what divine masculinity means in the 21st century. Know your why, know your greatest motivator, know why you're here to serve, who you're here to serve, and then get out and do it.
Yeah. And
allow yourself to be filled up by it. Don't be stingy with it. Get into alignment. Beautiful. And live in alignment with your vision.
That's it. Yeah, that's powerful. We need people in their brilliance. We need people in their genius. We need people in their heart and soul passion of what they're here on the earth to do. All we have to do is turn on the news, like you said. Yeah. We need a lot of hope right now.
Yeah.
We need inspiration.
Well, and if you're watching TV, like if I'm watching TV and I'm knowing my wholeness, I'm sitting there affirming my wholeness. I'm affirming the wholeness of everyone there. I'm offering acceptance, inclusion, and belonging to everything I see on TV. Acceptance, inclusion, belonging, even with, a lot of things that I don't agree with on a human level, right? How else can I look at this? How can I offer acceptance here? How can I offer inclusion here? How can I offer belonging here? Yeah. How can I know wholeness here? And how can I know it for myself?
And we don't get stuck in the drama of it or the, circular nature of it to kind of suck us in. I think it seems like there's an insular barrier there that then says, is that mine to do? That just seems like drama. I think I'm going to switch the channel, or watch some other video that's maybe a little more inspiring.
And we do, there are days, where we do get sucked into it. We get caught off guard, we get sucked into it, we fall out of alignment. But when you know your alignment, once you know your alignment, you can't ever unknow it, right? Yeah. Once you know that, you can't ever unknow it. And so then it's just a matter of like, okay, fell out of alignment there. Let me get myself back. Just let me bring myself back. What am I here to do? Right. Wholeness, acceptance, inclusion, belonging. Okay. Yeah. Then I can move from there. So I don't get stuck in that, whatever
fear,
it is.
Minutia, yes. Reptilian brain, that so much of that really pushes us to be in.
So much of what the manosphere is about, right? It's all reptilian brain. It's all reptilian brain.
Yeah.
So this is our opportunity to like lift up, stand up, lift higher, raise higher.
Move that energy into the prefrontal cortex, into the thinking part of the brain.
Yeah. And the pineal, really important to the pineal. So.
Yeah, that spiritual upliftment. Jeff, just so enjoyed it. So enjoyed our conversation. We'll go ahead and wrap it up for today. But if you want to find out more about Jeff, check out his website, jeffryancoaching.com. It's that simple, and you can find him on all the socials at Jeff Ryan Coaching as well. Thank you so much, Jeff, for being here today, sharing this. And I know our two visions definitely have some overlap. So I look forward to more conversations like this and more experiences. That's right. We're going to change the world, or help, ideally. So that's what we're here for. Be of service. Absolutely. Well, thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Eamon. Appreciate you too. Always a joy. Always a pleasure. Be well.
Thank you. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. There's more to come, so stay tuned in.